Do you want to know the 5 most important things before doing an off-road triathlon bike leg? By the end of this video, I'm going to share 5 keys to having a great race. Things that I wish I knew before my first off-road triathlon bike leg. And I've shared these with other triathletes and they felt a lot more prepared. And so right now, I'm sharing it with you. It's Coach Eric here, bringing you weekly training and racing tips, especially for the off-road triathlete. So if you're new here, consider subscribing. It's totally free and you won't miss any more videos. Last week, we talked about the 5 things you need to know about the swim. So if you want to see that, hit the top right. The link is there. Today, we are just talking about the 5 things you need to know for the mountain bike leg of an off-road triathlon. So before we get into those top 5, the bonus is that you've got to use a mountain bike. Now, it seems simple that you would do that, but in a lot of races, you can use different types of bikes. One example is I did a cross race and I used a mountain bike for that. And when I did a road triathlon, I used a commuter bike. For the off-road triathlon, you got to use a mountain bike. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, but with the type of terrain, that's what you're going to have to use. Number 1 for the things I wish I had known before my first off-road triathlon mountain bike leg, you're going to have to get off your bike, or most likely. There's some races, actually this race right here, you actually have to dismount 6 different times. The reason for this is there's a tunnel, very dark, it's flat in the bottom, but 2-lane traffic, too dangerous, and so you're required to get off the bike and walk or sort of run it through the end of the tunnel. It takes about 10 seconds, and then you're back getting on the bike and onto the single track trail. So I've never practiced jumping off the bike and running with it before, and so this is something that if you're just aware of this, you know it's coming. It definitely will help you if you practice, but at least you know it's there. You can be a little more organized and prepared to do so. So that's one way. The other reason you might have to get off your bike is that the terrain is often extremely difficult. I'm a pretty good climber on the road. I thought I could climb, any hill on the mountain bike, but it doesn't work quite like that with the different rocks or varying roots. It doesn't always have to do with you're a good climber. It's some of the technicality and are you distributing your weight. And so the bottom line is, in a lot of races, you end up getting off the bike and then you end up having to push it over the difficult terrain, or you're actually kind of slinging it over your shoulder and carrying it. So as I'm surprised to have to jump off at this race, I've got it slung over my shoulder and I'm hiking uphill. Here I'm walking, going very slow, and my heart rate's through the roof, and I was just not prepared for that. And so again, it doesn't mean you have to practice carrying your bike all over the place, but certainly being ready for that and practicing a couple times may help you, or even just doing a little bit more research on the race course if you're able to do that. But just be prepared for getting off your bike and then moving with it in some fashion and then getting back on it. Number 2, consider practicing taking in nutrition and hydration when you're not on the smoothest surfaces. We have a tendency to wait until it's easy to take a drink or nutrition, and that's definitely preferred. And so maybe you can even check out the course you're doing and see if there's any flat sections or an area that would be easy to take in the nutrition. But a lot of races are a lot of twists and turns, and so it might not be easy. But if you've practiced that a little bit, or at least you're aware that it's coming, maybe you could take a little bit more liquid than you normally would, since you're not maybe drinking as often, but still get the same amount, per hour. The other thing you can do is consider a hydration pack, where you put the hydration pack on and transition in, so you've got the nozzle up by your mouth, much easier to take. I've tried that a couple times. It's not my preference. But I know a lot of people who swear by it, they use it. It takes a lot of stress off of trying to look down, grab the bottle out of the cage and drink and go back. So just being able to practice that and definitely considering the hydration pack. 3 and 4 are related, and they involve getting past or passing someone on a mountain bike. So when you're getting passed by somebody, perhaps it's a slower swimmer who's faster on the mountain bike, or maybe it's somebody really fast from a different wave. But either way, a rider comes up behind you. Hopefully they should yell something like on your left or passing on your left. So when you hear that word left, don't move to the left, really stay to the right. if there's wide enough, it's their responsibility to pass you safely. But I know a couple races I've done, it's a lot of single track, and it's hard for them to pass. And so, I didn't want to pull over and stop my race, and at the same time, I didn't want to restrict them. And so I found a spot that I could quick pull over and stop, and then they passed me, and then I got back on and went. And a couple times there was actually 2 or 3 riders together, and so they all passed me at the same time. And what's interesting is that if you're able to start rather quickly after they pass, drafting's legal with off-road triathlon, so you might not actually lose a lot of time or any time at all, because once they pass, you actually can follow the last rider that went by. And typically they're a lot faster than me, so I'd follow them for a little bit and then they'd all pull away. So really, I didn't lose any time in that sense. So just be mindful of riders behind you. I've been really happy with off-road triathletes in general, where even the really fast mountain bikers are not rude to me. They're not anything. They come by, they try to pass when they can, and they announce when they're passing, and they typically pass pretty safely, but pretty quickly. So just be aware and pull over when you can with a faster rider coming behind you. Now, number 4 is when you're actually passing someone. And this can happen for lots of reasons as well. Maybe there's a super fast swimmer that's not as good on the mountain bike, and so you're coming up to pass them. And so, again, announce that you're passing them, and hopefully they'll pull off to the side as well. Just as the athlete's passing you, or hopefully patient, you're patient with the athletes that you're coming up and overtaking as well. I know this can be difficult because you may not feel like a really strong mountain biker yourself, yet here you are coming up and passing someone else. And so just make sure you announce you're coming on the left, stick to that left, and if there is an opening, if you have to repeat it a couple times, and if there's not, hopefully they'll pull over so that you can pass, and then perhaps the two of you may be able to work together. So the 5th and final thing that I wish I knew before my first off-road triathlon is learn how to fix the flat. It's just I wouldn't wish the flat tire on anybody, but they happen, pinch flats and whatnot. So learn how to have a local bike shop teach you how to do it if you don't know how. Carry the flat kit with you on your bike. It's better to fix that flat than to have to walk your bike in and not be able to finish it all. And when you actually fix that flat, even though it took me 14 minutes or something the first time, I felt a lot more accomplished when I actually finished the race. And so it wasn't as well as I wanted to do with that, but that's what happens. And that's the only time I've ever flatted was that one race, and haven't since. But being prepared makes the whole experience better. So learn how to fix that flat. Those are the 5 things I wish I had known before my first off-road triathlon mountain bike leg. What's something that you wish you had known before your first triathlon leg? Please share with the community by putting something in the comments below. That'd really be helpful. I hope this was helpful for you. If you are interested in any coaching, please check out my Training Peaks profile. Send me an email if you've got any questions. New video next week on the top 5 things for the off-road triathlon run leg. And until then, I will see you on the trails.